Your trust fund paid for our new life. My sister-in-law Amanda beamed, twirling the keys to their new beachfront house while my brother stood behind her, avoiding my eyes. No one will believe you anyway. Her words cut through the celebration around us, quiet enough that only I could hear, but sharp enough to draw blood. I stood there surrounded by champagne glasses and congratulatory hugs, watching them celebrate their hard-earned dream home. The same home they couldn't have afforded on my brother's teacher's salary. The same home that mysteriously appeared right after my trust fund vanished. 3 months earlier, I had trusted them. That was my first mistake. Just sign here, Amanda had said, sliding the papers across my hospital bed. It's for the insurance. They need a family member's signature while you're recovering. I was still groggy from surgery. My appendix had burst the night before, and the pain medication made everything fuzzy. I trusted my brother's wife. That was my second mistake. I didn't read the documents carefully. The words swam before my eyes, and Amanda's reassuring smile seemed genuine enough. After all, she was family. She was the one who'd rushed me to the emergency room when the pain became unbearable. She was the one who'd called my brother, who was away at a teaching conference. She was the one who stayed with me through the night. "Don't worry about anything," she'd whispered, patting my hand. "We'll take care of everything." They took care of everything all right, including my $390,000 trust fund. I didn't notice at first. Recovery took weeks, and between the pain medication and physical therapy, I wasn't exactly checking my accounts daily. When I finally did log in, I thought it was a mistake. The trust fund my grandparents had left me gone, transferred out in 3 neat transactions. I called the bank immediately, my hands shaking as I held the phone. "There must be some mistake," I said, my voice trembling. "I never authorized any transfers." "Ma'am," the bank representative said slowly, "we have the signed documentation right here. You authorized the transfer to Amanda and James Wilson on March 15th. March 15th, the day after my surgery." The room spun. I remembered Amanda's smile, the papers in my hand, her reassuring voice. "It's just insurance forms." The memory made me sick. When I confronted them, Amanda didn't even try to hide it. She stood in their new kitchen, my kitchen really, since my money paid for it, and laughed. "Prove it," she said, crossing her arms. "You signed the papers. Everyone knows you've been having money troubles since losing your job. You probably spent it yourself and now you're trying to blame us." My brother James just stood there silent. The same silence that had been his response to everything since marrying Amanda 3 years ago. "James," I pleaded, turning to my brother. "You know this isn't right. That money was from Grandma and Grandpa. They wanted me to use it for my future." He wouldn't meet my eyes. "Maybe you should go, sis. You're upset." Not thinking clearly. Not thinking clearly. The same words Amanda had used to convince him I was unstable when I questioned their sudden wealth. The same words they'd used to convince our parents I was just jealous of their success. I left their house that day feeling hollow. My own brother, the same kid who used to share his lunch with me when bullies stole mine, who taught me to ride a bike, who promised to always have my back, he chose her lies over my truth. But I wasn't done. Not by a long shot. That night, I sat in my small apartment, the one I could barely afford since losing my tech job in the latest round of layoffs, and started digging. I pulled out every document, every bank statement, every piece of paper related to my grandparents' trust, and then I found it. Hidden in the original trust documentation was a clause I'd forgotten about. The trustee, my grandparents' longtime lawyer, Mr. Harrison, had to approve any transfer over $50,000. I checked the transfer documents, no trustee signature. My hands were steady as I dialed Mr. Harrison's number. It was late, well past business hours, but he answered on the 3rd ring. "Mr. Harrison," I said, trying to keep my voice calm. "I need to report some irregularities with my trust fund." The silence on the other end was heavy. When he finally spoke, his voice was cold. "I was wondering when you'd call. I've been investigating some concerning transactions." Relief flooded through me. Finally, someone believed me. "The signatures," he continued, "they don't match our records. And there's something else. Something that Mrs. Wilson didn't know about." I leaned forward, gripping the phone tighter. "What do you mean?" "Your grandmother," he said slowly. "She was a very careful woman. After what happened with your cousin Thomas's inheritance, she added some safeguards to all the family trusts. Every document has a hidden watermark. The papers Mrs. Wilson had you sign, they're forgeries. My heart pounded. So you can prove it? You can prove they stole from me? Oh, we can do more than prove it. I could hear the smile in his voice. The trust has a fraud clause. If anyone attempts to illegally access the funds, not only do they have to return the money, but they forfeit any claim to their own inheritance from the family estate. I sat back stunned. Amanda hadn't just stolen my money. She'd accidentally triggered a clause that would cost them everything. There's more, Mr. Harrison added. The police are already involved. Financial fraud over $250,000 is a felony in this state. Mrs. Wilson's signature is on all the documentation. She's looking at serious charges. I thought about Amanda's smirk as she twirled those house keys, about my brother's silence, about all the family dinners where they'd subtly hinted that my unemployment was my own fault, that I was irresponsible, that I was just jealous of their success. What do you need from me? I asked. Come to my office tomorrow morning. Bring any documentation you have. And he paused. You might want to warn your brother. From what we've uncovered, he might not have known about his wife's actions. He might be a victim in this too. I wanted to believe that. I desperately wanted to believe my brother was innocent, that he'd been manipulated just like I had been. But I remembered his silence, his refusal to meet my eyes, his quick acceptance of their sudden wealth. I'll be there first thing tomorrow, I said. After hanging up, I sat in the darkness of my apartment, staring at my phone. I had evidence now. I had proof. I could destroy them with a single call. But something made me hesitate. Maybe it was memories of James sharing his lunch, teaching me to ride a bike, standing up to bullies for me. Or maybe it was knowing that beneath his silence, my brother was as much a victim of Amanda's manipulation as I was. I picked up my phone and typed out a message to James. The trustee knows everything. You have until tomorrow morning to come clean. After that, it's out of my hands. I hit send and waited. Minutes ticked by. Then my phone lit up with his response. Can we talk? Just us? 20 minutes later, I sat across from my brother in a 24-hour diner. He looked older than I remembered, tired in a way that went beyond physical exhaustion. I didn't know at first, he said, staring into his untouched coffee. When Amanda told me about the money, she said you had agreed to loan it to us. Said you wanted to help us get our dream home because you knew how hard I'd been working. I stayed silent, letting him talk. I should have questioned it, should have asked you directly, but things have been complicated with Amanda. She's not who I thought she was. How long have you known the truth? I asked quietly. He flinched. I found the forged documents last week, hidden in her home office. I confronted her, but she just laughed, said no one would believe me over her. Said she'd tell everyone I was in on it from the start. And you believed her? I was scared, he whispered. She's been different lately. Controlling. She monitors my phone, my email. She told my principal I was having mental health issues when I talked about leaving her. I felt trapped. The James I knew, the strong, protective big brother, seemed to have vanished, replaced by this broken man before me. The trustee is going to the police tomorrow, I said gently. This is your chance to tell the truth, to make things right. He looked up, finally meeting my eyes. I'm so sorry, he said, his voice cracking. I should have protected you. Instead, I let her hurt you. Let her take everything from you. Not everything, I said, reaching across the table to take his hand. She didn't take my brother. Not yet. Tomorrow would bring chaos. There would be police investigations, legal battles, family drama. But for now, in this quiet diner at midnight, I had my brother back. And maybe, just maybe, that was worth more than any trust fund. The next morning, as I walked into Mr. Harrison's office with James beside me, I felt stronger than I had in months. We had proof, we had the truth, and most importantly, we had each other. What we didn't know was that Amanda had one more card to play, one that would shake our family to its core. Amanda's final card wasn't a bluff, it was a bomb designed to tear our family apart completely. The morning meeting with Mr. Harrison started smoothly enough. James and I sat in the leather chairs across from his imposing desk while he laid out the evidence, forged documents, fraudulent transfers, and the ironclad proof of Amanda's deception. But just as Mr. Harrison reached for his phone to call the police, my cell phone exploded with notifications. Amanda had gone nuclear, across every family member's social media, in group chats, and even emailed to James's school principal. She posted a carefully crafted story. Complete with doctored text messages and edited photos, she painted a devastating picture. I had allegedly been having an affair with her brother, stolen money from their joint accounts, and was now trying to frame her out of jealousy and revenge. Oh God, James whispered, scrolling through his phone. She's contacted everyone. Mom, Dad, our cousins, my colleagues. Mr. Harrison's face remained impassive as he reviewed the posts. This is actually good news, he said, surprising us both. She's just added defamation to her charges. But the damage was already spreading like wildfire. My phone rang. Mom, her voice shaking with anger and disappointment. How could you do this to your brother? To our family? Mom, it's not true. I tried to explain, but she cut me off. Amanda showed us everything. The texts, the photos, even bank statements showing you took money from them. I thought we raised you better than this. James grabbed the phone. Mom, listen to me. Amanda's lying. I'm sitting right here with the trustee. She forged documents, stole the trust fund money. James, honey. Mom's voice softened, speaking to him like he was a child. We know she's manipulated you too. Amanda told us how she's been protecting you, how your sister's been taking advantage of your kindness. The worst part wasn't the lies, it was how easily everyone believed them. Within hours, my social media was flooded with hateful messages. Distant relatives I hadn't spoken to in years felt entitled to share their disappointment. Former classmates reposted Amanda's lies with shocked emoji reactions. Even my few remaining friends seemed to be keeping their distance. But Amanda's plan had one fatal flaw. She didn't know about the security cameras. Your grandmother, Mr. Harrison said, typing something on his computer, install security cameras in this office after the incident with Thomas. They run 24/7s with backup copies stored offsite. He turned the monitor toward us. There was Amanda, 2 days after my surgery, walking into the office with a stack of papers. The timestamp matched exactly when the forged documents were supposedly signed by me, while I was still in the hospital. The cameras also record audio, Mr. Harrison added, clicking play. Amanda's voice filled the room. Of these, just some routine trust fund documents. My sister-in-law already signed them. Poor thing, she's been so generous, wanting to help us get our dream home. The lies flowed effortlessly from her lips as she presented the forged papers. But the camera caught everything, including her slipping an envelope of cash to a now former employee who had processed the paperwork without proper verification. That's not all, Mr. Harrison continued, pulling out another file. We did some deeper digging after noticing the irregular transfers. Mrs. Wilson has quite a history. The file revealed a pattern. 3 previous marriages, each ending shortly after she gained access to her husband's assets. Different names, different cities, but the same scheme. She'd married James not for love, but because she discovered his family's wealth. She's done this before, James said quietly, his face ashen. I wasn't special. I was just another target. I reached for his hand, squeezing it gently. You're special to me. To our family. She's the one who's nothing. Mr. Harrison's phone buzzed. The police are here, he said, standing. Along with some federal agents. Apparently, Mrs. Wilson's activities crossed state lines, making this a federal case. As if on cue, Amanda's latest social media post popped up on my phone. A tearful video claiming she was being harassed and threatened, begging for support from her followers. The comments were filled with people promising to help, to stand by her, to defend her against the crazy family trying to destroy her life. Let her dig herself deeper, Mr. Harrison advised, seeing us watch the video. Every post, every lie, every attempt to manipulate public opinion, it all goes into evidence. The next few hours were a blur of statements, documents, and formal complaints. The federal agents were particularly interested in Amanda's history, suggesting there might be more victims we didn't know about yet. But the real shock came when we returned to James's house, or rather my house, since it had been bought with my stolen money. Amanda was gone, along with anything valuable she could carry, but she left something behind. A laptop, forgotten in her hurry to flee. She always said I wasn't allowed to touch her personal computer, James said as we booted it up. Now I know why. The laptop was a treasure trove of evidence, not just of her scheme against our family, but of previous cons, detailed in spreadsheets and documents she'd thought were safely hidden. She even kept a journal, describing her targets and strategies with cold, calculating precision. About James, she'd written, "Easy mark. Family money, trusting nature, desperate for approval. His sister might be a problem. Too smart, asks too many questions. Need to isolate him from her influence." Reading those words, seeing how she planned every manipulation, every lie, something in James finally broke. The last of his denial crumbled. "I let her destroy everything," he whispered, his voice raw. "Our relationship, your trust fund, our family's faith in us." "No," I said firmly. "You didn't let her do anything. She's a professional con artist who targeted you, isolated you, and abused you. But she didn't win." "How can you say that? Look at what everyone thinks of you now. Look at what I let her take from you." I closed the laptop, turning to face my brother fully. Money can be replaced. Reputations can be rebuilt. But you know what she couldn't take? Us. She tried to break our bond, but here we are, still standing together. James looked at me for a long moment, then pulled me into a fierce hug. For the first time since this nightmare began, I felt my brother, my real brother, coming back to me. But even as we held each other, both our phones buzzed with new notifications. Amanda wasn't done yet. She just posted something that would make her previous accusations look tame in comparison. And this time, she wasn't just targeting me or James. She was going after our entire family's legacy. Amanda's new post wasn't just another attack, it was a calculated nuclear strike at the heart of our family's reputation. She claimed our grandparents' fortune, the source of the trust funds, came from illegal activities. She posted doctored documents suggesting money laundering, tax evasion, and worse. "Your precious grandparents weren't saints," her post declared. "They were criminals, and I have proof. Everything they left you was stolen money. That's why they were so secretive about their business dealings." The allegations hit our family like a tsunami. Our parents' phones rang nonstop. Reporters started calling. Local news websites were already picking up the story. Our family name, respected in the community for 3 generations, was being dragged through the mud. But Amanda had made a crucial mistake. She'd unknowingly triggered our grandfather's final failsafe. Mr. Harrison called an emergency family meeting. As we gathered in his office, parents, aunts, uncles, cousins, he pulled out a sealed envelope none of us had seen before. "Your grandfather left this with strict instructions," he explained, breaking the seal. It was only to be opened if someone ever questioned the source of the family wealth. Inside was a USB drive and a letter, written in our grandfather's familiar handwriting. Mr. Harrison began to read. "My dear family, if you're reading this, someone has challenged our legacy. I expected this might happen someday, which is why I prepared this record. Everything, every dollar, every investment, every business decision is documented here. Not because I had to, but because I knew the truth would be our strongest shield." The USB drive contained decades of business records, tax returns, and bank statements. But more importantly, it included our grandfather's personal journals, documenting how he built his fortune from scratch. Starting as a janitor in a factory, he saved every penny, took night classes in business, and slowly built a construction company. He won contracts fairly, paid workers well, and invested wisely. The journals detailed every struggle, every sacrifice, every honest dollar earned. "Your grandfather," Mr. Harrison said, "was actually investigated by the IRS 3 times during his career. Each time they found his books impeccable. He kept every record, every receipt, because he was proud of doing things the right way." As the federal agents reviewed the documents, Amanda's accusations crumbled. Not only were our grandparents innocent, but they had also been philanthropists, anonymously donating millions to local charities over the years. But our grandfather had left something else in that envelope, something that would turn the tables on Amanda completely. In case of false accusations, the final document read, "Release Protocol Delta." Mr. Harrison smiled for the first time in days. Protocol Delta was your grandfather's insurance policy. He hired private investigators to background check anyone who married into the family, not to interfere, just to protect against exactly this type of situation. The PI reports on Amanda were devastating. Her real name wasn't even Amanda. It was Sarah Mitchell. She changed identities multiple times, leaving a trail of broken families and empty bank accounts across 3 states. While we were reeling from this revelation, James's phone rang. It was the real Amanda Wilson's brother, the one she'd accused me of having an affair with. "That woman isn't my sister," he said, his voice shaking with anger. "My real sister Amanda has been trying to clear her name for years after this woman stole her identity. We've been looking for her for so long." The pieces were falling into place. Every lie, every manipulation, was unraveling. The federal agents were especially interested in this new information. Identity theft across state lines added several more federal charges to her growing list of crimes. But the most powerful response came from our grandmother's old friend, Margaret, who still ran the local newspaper. She published a detailed exposé, not of our family's alleged crimes, but of Amanda's long history of fraud, complete with testimonies from previous victims and documentation of her past cons. The public tide turned quickly. The same people who had shared Amanda's accusations were now sharing Margaret's article. Former victims began coming forward, each with their own story of how she manipulated and stolen from them. James sat in stunned silence as he read the article. "She didn't just steal money," he whispered. "She stole years of our lives. Made us doubt ourselves, doubt each other." I watched my brother as the full weight of Amanda's deception hit him. But instead of breaking him, this time it seemed to strengthen his resolve. "No more," he said, standing up. "No more letting her control the narrative. No more letting her tear us apart." He walked to Mr. Harrison's desk and picked up the phone. "I want to press charges," he said firmly. "All of them. And I want to make a public statement." Mr. Harrison nodded approvingly. "Actually, there's something else you should know. Your grandfather had one more surprise in that Protocol Delta." He pulled out another document, this one marked Family Protection Fund. He set aside a separate fund specifically to help family members recover from situations like this. Legal fees, PR support, whatever's needed to protect the family name and help victims rebuild. For the first time in months, I saw real hope in James's eyes. We weren't just fighting back against Amanda's lies. We were reclaiming our family's legacy, built on honesty, hard work, and looking out for each other. But just as we began to turn the tide, my phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. A chill ran down my spine as I read it. "You think you've won? Check your email. I saved the best surprise for last." The email arrived with a single video attachment. My hands trembled as I pressed play, with James and Mr. Harrison watching over my shoulders. There she was, Amanda, or Sarah, or whatever her real name was, sitting in what looked like a hotel room, her perfectly composed mask finally cracking. "Congratulations," she sneered into the camera. "You think you've won. You think exposing my past will fix everything. Well, here's what you don't know." She held up a familiar-looking leather portfolio, my grandfather's private journal, the one that had gone missing after his death, the one that supposedly contained details about additional family investments. "Your precious grandfather had secrets even his lawyer doesn't know about," she continued. "Offshore accounts, hidden properties, and best of all." She flipped through the pages, the combination to a safe deposit box at First National. Contents unknown, but he seemed pretty worried about keeping it secret. My heart sank. That journal had been missing for months, and now we knew why. But then I noticed something, a slight smirk on Mr. Harrison's face. "Play it again," he said softly. "Watch the journal." We replayed the video, focusing on the leather portfolio. That's when I saw it, a tiny gold emblem in the corner, slightly different from my grandfather's actual journal. "That," Mr. Harrison said, "is a fake. Your grandfather knew someone might try to steal his journal someday, so he had several duplicates made, each with slightly different secrets hidden inside. Decoys." "But the safe deposit box," James started. "Exists," Mr. Harrison finished, "but it's been empty for years. Your grandfather moved everything to a new location after he caught someone trying to break into it. That box is just another trap. Anyone trying to access it triggers an automatic alert to bank security and the FBI." As if on cue, my phone rang. It was Agent Roberts, the FBI agent handling our case. "We got her," he said without preamble. "She just tried to access the safe deposit box at First National. We've had it under surveillance since your grandfather reported the attempted break-in 3 years ago. She walked right into it." Relief flooded through me. "You arrested her. In custody now. And you'll never guess what we found in her hotel room. Evidence connecting her to at least 12 other fraud cases across the country. She's looking at serious federal time." The news spread quickly through the family. Within hours, Amanda's final desperate attempt had become the nail in her own coffin. The woman who had tried to destroy our family's reputation had only succeeded in proving how strong our grandfather's foresight had been. 1 week later, we gathered again in Mr. Harrison's office. Not for damage control this time, but for healing. Your grandfather, Mr. Harrison said, left one final message. He wrote it the day he created those decoy journals. He pulled out a letter, worn with age but carefully preserved. To my family, he read, if you're reading this, someone has tried to hurt you, to break the bonds that make us strong. Remember this. Our true wealth isn't in bank accounts or properties. It's in the love and trust we share. Money can be stolen, but family, real family, that's something no con artist can take away. James wiped his eyes, and I squeezed his hand. After everything we'd been through, our bond wasn't just restored, it was stronger than ever. The aftermath wasn't easy. James had to deal with the divorce proceedings, though Amanda's arrest simplified things considerably. I had to rebuild my reputation, though the truth about Amanda's schemes had gone a long way toward clearing my name. But the most important rebuilding happened within our family. The trust fund was restored, with additional security measures in place. James and I bought a small fixer-upper together, a project to keep us busy and healing. Our parents, finally seeing the truth about Amanda's manipulation, worked hard to rebuild their relationships with both of us. 6 months later, I stood in our newly renovated kitchen, watching James make coffee in the early morning light. The news had just reported Amanda's sentencing 25 years for multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and money laundering. You know what's funny? James said, handing me a cup. She thought she was destroying us, but she actually made us stronger. I nodded, thinking about everything we gained by losing so much. Grandfather would be proud, I said. We protected more than just the money. We protected what really matters. Family, James smiled, raising his cup in a toast. Family, I agreed, clinking my cup against his. Outside, the sun rose on another day, shining on a family that had weathered the storm and come out stronger. Amanda had tried to break us with lies, but in the end, the truth had set us free.